Indiana did it. Indiana is the number one seed in the college football playoff. They are 13-0 in the same season. They beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game and Oregon at Autzen Stadium. I can't come up with a proper analogy or comparison for what Indiana has done. The perception of that program and the entire image of the university writ large has completely changed. What's the equivalent for Indiana? They could win the national championship. The Indiana Hoosiers could win the national championship. This is a program that until last year had never, not a single time, they hadn't ever had a 10-win season. Forget the last conference championship they had was during like the Eisenhower administration or something like that. And if you need to look up when that was, it was in the 1950s. I think that was when Indiana last won the Big Ten. It's been a while. This was a doormat program. They were the bottom dweller of the Big Ten every single year. Nobody cared, myself included, that Curt Cignetti got hired to Indiana. Who's that guy? Oh, James Madison? Oh, yeah, they're doing that FCS to FBS jump. Oh, yeah, it's gone pretty well. Not just in football, by the way. In every sport. It's not always that easy, but they've made it work. And so that was the impression. Like, oh, okay. And from the moment that he has set foot on that campus, on a place that has been more known for basketball, has had more recent success in basketball than football, has now made them purely into a football brand until the basketball team does something as remarkable as this. And I don't think that they are going to. They hired a new coach. I'm sure he'll do well. But again, what Curt Cignetti is doing is unprecedented. Okay, the lone dynasty in the sport in my lifetime has been Nick Saban at Alabama. And boy, what a run. What an unbelievable run. He was doing that at Alabama. He won a national championship before that at LSU. Bear Bryant existed at Alabama, won there for a very long time, and Saban was able to get them back to that level after they had lost their way. This is not Indiana returning to their once glorious program. Okay, this isn't the equivalent of revitalizing a Nebraska or a Miami or Notre Dame or anybody like that. I don't know what the comparison is. If South Florida had won the national championship in that 2007 season when they were ranked inside the top 5, I think that's the only thing that would have come close. But everything about what Curt Cignetti is doing is sustainable. Ohio State looked like a juggernaut all season long. I'm still leaning towards picking them to win the national championship in this college football playoff because I know Ohio State's a really good team, but they just got beat by Indiana. There wasn't a fluke. There wasn't, no. Yeah, there were missed holding calls going in both directions. The Big Ten does not call holding. Trust me, I've watched a lot of Big Ten football this year. Their officials have been instructed to not call it. So, or at least that's the way it clearly seems. What Indiana has been able to do in such a short amount of time as representative is the best example of what I've talked about before, which is the gap between the top of the sport and everybody else is just not as big as it used to be. And I think that makes college football really fun and exciting. Ohio State losing a game as good as they have looked all season long shows you, hey, maybe anyone can go get this. Maybe Indiana's top dog. Oregon beat Ohio State last year. Oregon was 13-0, champions of the Big Ten. Oregon looked like the best team in the country, and Ohio State got hot and beat them. So from that angle, though I have been anti-playoff expansion for a while, I have to concede I'm excited for that. To see where these teams are going to be able to, or how they're going to be able to play in the college football playoff. Okay. But the equivalent, the best I can come up with right now for what Curt Cignetti has done at Indiana. Will Stein just got hired to Kentucky to be their head coach. He has been the offensive coordinator at Oregon for the last 3 seasons. He's going to stay there through their playoff run. They're their number 5 seed playing James Madison at home in a couple weeks. If Will Stein took Kentucky and in 2 years, I'm talking 2027, he won the SEC and was the number one team in college football. Think about how crazy that seems. Man, I can't see that happen. I can't sit here and tell you it's not going to. Indiana just beat Ohio State. Ohio State has stacked class after class after class of top 5 talent and has got a premier coaching staff and has got NFL and Heisman caliber players. And they just lost to Curt Cignetti and that transfer quarterback from Cal, who's now going to be a top pick in the NFL draft. I mean, what precedent do you have? What other example can you go to and say, oh, that was incredible? You know, Florida State hasn't been where they've wanted to be all the time. Norvell, of course, had them 13-0. Not having that conversation on today of all days. But when Jameis Winston led them to a national championship, it was the first time they'd felt like Florida State truly in quite a while. That's revitalizing an old brand. This is complete. This would be different even than Matt Rule taking Nebraska and leading them to a national championship. Because again, they've at least won before. There's an ingrained level of support and commitment. Curt Cignetti has forced Indiana to care about football. And for him to be doing this in such a short amount of time, 2 years, you realize he's lost 2 football games. 2. To the national champion and the national runner-up. That's it. Those are the only teams he's ever lost to since taking over as head coach of the Indiana Hoosiers. And yeah, any time is appropriate to bring up the fact that he needs to have a quality non-conference opponent in there. Playing 9 conference games is great. That's what everybody should do. That's what everyone's going to do. Put a Power 4 non-conference opponent in there. Make it a decent matchup. This is why teams shouldn't control their schedule. Anyway, I don't know if there's a hire that you can say that has been as successful as Curt Cignetti in the last couple of years. I'm talking in the history of college football. Because there have been a bunch of great hires. A bunch of them. You can point, Nick Saban was a great hire. Dabo Swinney once upon a time was a great hire. Kirby Smart has worked out pretty well. They were just elevating programs to where they were always supposed to be or capable of being. No one thought Indiana was capable of being in this particular spot. To beat Ohio State head-to-head on the field. And hey, look, the committee put them at number 1. I don't think there's actually any doubt about that. But it's unbelievable. It is truly one of the most unbelievable sports stories I can ever remember. Not just in college football, any sport. Any sport. Never seen anything like it before. Curt Cignetti, 1 of 1. Big Ten champs, might go win the national championship. How about that?